Out of all of Final Fantasy XIV, the longest standing debate is whether the Warrior Light has their own will. The Warrior of Light being tempered is a theory that has been conceived even before the Heavens War expansion. This started from this lesser known theory about the Warrior of Light being a primal, summoned by the people's desire for peace and using Hydaelyn as a power source. Now, Yoshi P debunked this, confirming that the Warrior Light is just a special adventurer, but the tempered theory still holds water and pretty much became its own thing. Now, with Shadowbringers being done and bringing in a whole slew of revelations, this theory has become more and more mainstream. However, I can say we can definitively answer this theory when we bring everything together. Now, before I go on, I do want to say the rest of this video will delve into full spoilers for basically all of the main scenario storyline, including 5.55, the Dark Knight storyline, and the Eden storyline. If you don't want to be spoiled by this video, this will be your first and last time to leave and come back later. Alright, let's get on with the video. So, is the Warrior Light tempered by Hydaelyn? The short answer is yes, but no. What do I mean by this? Well, that's going to take a long answer, because the evidence involving this is literally all over the place, and likely would have to take playing the MSQ multiple times with a critical eye, because optional dialogue is also involved in this, which means it can be easily missed. So let's break it down. First, we've known for a while now that people with the Echo aren't Hydaelyn's chosen, with a little bit in 5.3 confirming that the Echo has nothing to do with Hydaelyn or even Zodiark at all. The only thing the Echo does is provide a means of communication between the Echo user and Hydaelyn. And through this, Hydaelyn can directly awaken the Echo. Now, this is where things get confusing, because even the most knowledgeable of NPCs will reference the Echo as Hydaelyn's gift. This is entirely wrong, and is even stated as such in 5.3, when Urian J states that everything they assumed about the Echo has been debunked by Elidibus. The part where she says, hear, feel, think, is just the Echo awakening, and on top of that is just theatrics. I'm going to make a video regarding the Echo and probably post it here when it's done, but for now, let's just leave it at that. What we want to focus on instead is the Blessing of Light, which is absolutely from Hydaelyn herself. At the beginning of A Realm Reborn, the would-be Warrior of Light comes into contact with the Crystal of Light, and from there gains the first real interaction with Hydaelyn. This is where she fully explains the mission to the Warrior of Light, then ends the monologue saying, "Shine thy light on all creation." This is where the Warrior Light gets the Blessing of Light, and from there, this is where the theory begins of the Warrior Light being tempered. So, at first, this adds up well. Most obviously, Hydaelyn gave the Warrior Light a directive to save the realm, and they do this in flying spades. Furthermore, Ifrit and Garuda says the Warrior Light's soul belongs to another, and Hydaelyn is confirmed to be a Elder Primal. We also know that Zodiark can and has indeed tempered the Ascians, as confirmed by Emmett Selk. And since Hydaelyn is Zodiark's opposite, it stands to reason that she can do the same thing. So there's enough here to make a sound argument, but that would be ignoring the points that contradict what we know about tempering. Before I go on, it's important we define tempering. Tempering is the primal's ability to rid of free will from a soul, making them mindless servants. The term itself used to refer to just Ifrit's followers, since he uses fire, so fire tempering. However, as more and more primals showed up, the term got blanketed to all primals for simplicity's sake. The effects of tempering comes down to two surface level things. First is the primal claiming the soul as their own. The second is the loss of free will for the individual. There's a lot more nuance that comes with tempering, but for the sake of the subject at hand, we'll leave it with just that. So, let's handle the first point. Ifrit and Garuda fails to temper the Warrior of Light, and figures out that their soul has already been claimed by someone else. Seems cut and dry. Or it would if not for the Echo. So it's been pointed out multiple times that it's the Echo that saves an individual from being tempered, with Xenos confirming through demonstration even that the Echo doesn't make people immune to tempering, but in fact allows the user to overpower the primal through willpower alone. Now, this doesn't mean that Ifrit and Garuda were wrong with their assessment. Garuda even smells Hydaelyn on the Warrior of Light, but they're wrong that she's the reason why they couldn't claim the Warrior of Light. Even if they could somehow remove Hydaelyn from the equation, they still wouldn't be able to temper the Warrior of Light due to the Echo. So in regards to the temper process, this doesn't really mean anything and turns out inconclusive. Instead, let's look at a much clearer picture that established this. In Heavensward 3.4, the Warrior of Light and Warriors of Darkness get transported to the Mother Crystal's realm, where they meet with the Word of the Mother, or Minfilia. After explaining that Hydaelyn did not intend for them to flood the First with light, this particular scene happens.
Now you deign to answer our prayers? I will suffer this farce no longer!
As the Ascians must serve as instruments of Zodiark's will, so too must others carry out the will of Hydaelyn.
Now, assuming Minfilia is effectively Hydaelyn's power-given form, this scene encapsulates the situation perfectly. When Artbird attacks Minfilia, she easily stops him with a raise of the hand. At first, I figured this was just a simple display of power, showing the gap between him and Hydaelyn. But the light aura displayed when Artbird is stopped is very similar with the aura displayed from the Warrior of Light when empowered with the Blessing of Light. In other words, Hydaelyn didn't actually overpower Artbird, she literally just made him stop. Then she presents the line, as the Ascians must serve as instruments of Zodiark's will, so too must others carry out the will of Hydaelyn. In other words, Zodiark has the ability to directly control the Ascians, and it is only logical that Hydaelyn does as well. Now, this is going to get contentious because this is a clear sign of being tempered, but bear with me. Now, despite A Realm Reborn being very unclear with the powers of the Echo and the Blessing of Light, and even the differences between them, they're pretty straightforward with tempering in and of itself, and they were very, very clear that not all tempering is made equal. For example, Ifrit and Garuda actively tempers their enemies in a bout of conquest, as the Amalja and Ixali want to dominate their enemies. However, Ramua and the Sylphs doesn't actively temper anyone but their own race. Ramua and his fanatics are extremely territorial and want to be left alone. In short, primals are summoned with an objective in mind, and they perform that objective. The tempered are there to facilitate that objective by any means, including going through espionage, such as when the Ananta agreed to join a meeting to ensure peace across Alamigo and the Beast Tribes, only to summon Lakshmi in an attempt to make them their thralls. Now, I can go into deeper detail, but I think you get the point. This is a clear indication that depending on the objective, tempered people can act normal to ordinary people, while still maintaining their fanatical ways. But while all this is true, this is only half the criteria. As stated, a tempered individual has a loss of free will, as in they're unable to make a choice against their master's wishes. So, after hours upon hours of rewatching cutscenes, reading the journal, and playing the game with a fresh alt, I can confidently say there is no indication that the Warrior Light has lost their free will. Now, nothing highlights this better than the Dark Knight side quest, as it goes into the Warrior Light's own emotions and psyche rather thoroughly. So, quick side note here, because I know referencing the English version of this can spark debate, but I do know that the way the English version tells the story is very different from the Japanese version. However, for the sake of this video, I will only be using the English version, as Frey, aka the Dark Side, aka the Shadow, has the same objective and intent regardless of the version, which is the main focus of this narrative. So just want to say that I am very aware of the differences. But for the sake of this video, it does not matter. Anyway, to make this clear, Frey is the personal dark emotions and feelings of the Warrior of Light. They're a representation of everything the Warrior Light keeps bottled up and refuse to let come to the surface. When they first come in contact with the Dark Knight Jobstone, their ether gets drained into and gives the dark side ethereal form and acts as your mentor as Frey. During this journey, Frey occasionally laments over a dear friend they lost along the way, due to that person's desire to be a hero for the people and change the world for the better. This friend is, of course, the Warrior of Light. And this becomes obvious when Frey begins to talk about how their friend had to get on that damned boat, which is in reference to the battle against Leviathan. Frey also becomes increasingly angrier with people treating the Warrior of Light as a weapon of convenience, and constantly berates people by saying they're putting them in harm's way and need to handle issues without their help. But this is also undermined by the Warrior of Light, as they constantly agree to help either way. This comes to a head when Frey persuades the Warrior Light to literally leave Eorzea for the sake of their own happiness. This almost works until soldiers of Whitebrim ask the Warrior of Light for help, once again dragging them into battle. This causes Frey, who to state again is the Warrior Light's shadow, to go berserk, revealing their true nature and going into combat with them. After being defeated, Frey states that the people now know their true side, and what's underneath all of the bravado and selflessness. But the people of Whitebrim, who just took the brunt of the dark side's fury, still believes in the Warrior Light's honest virtue. This forces Frey to make one final plea to the Warrior of Light to stop letting others control them, and leave this all behind. But the Warrior Light has already chosen that they want to help others, not out of duty, but out of love of the common man. Frey finally accepts this, but tells them that if they ever grow tired of the charade, the dark side can take the reins. In short, this means the Warrior Light can leave whenever the hell they want. They're not beholden to anyone, not even Hydaelyn herself. The journal, which adds an incredible amount of context for the story, even states they have the ability to forsake Hydaelyn entirely. Now, I don't know about you, but this sounds like free will to me, and this is the antithesis of what tempering is all about. And for those that aren't quite convinced, we also had to account for the fact that the Warriors of Darkness were originally Warriors of Light as well. When the first got flooded with light, they went against Hydaelyn and embraced darkness. Again, this is an act of free will, despite their souls being claimed by Hydaelyn. In conclusion, the Warrior of Light is not tempered, at least not in the traditional sense. To go back to a previous point, Emixel does admit that all the Ascians that summon Zodiark are tempered. The reason for this is because, in his own words, Zodiark is infinitely more powerful than normal primals. However, despite this, the Ascians show a surprising amount of free will, pretty much as the Warriors of Light do. This comes to a point that once Elidibus kicks the bucket, the remaining Ascians just says Zodiark and is left to their own devices. Maichin tries his hardest to go back to Gaia, who was originally his Ascian lover, and Fandaniel just wants to destroy the world because why not? In short, Elidibus, Lahabrea, and Emixel were holding everything together. Obviously, if they were all tempered in the traditional sense, Zodiark could have simply gone, hey, cut that out, get back to work, and that'd be it. But it isn't. So what is going on? We first had to establish that people with the Echo can be tempered. Every single Ascian has the Echo, and upon awakening, it's how they regain the memories of their original selves. Despite this, they still have their free will. In contrast, the ones without the Echo become fully enthralled by the tempering of the primals. Next is the piece of information that the Echo is a remnant of the Ancients' power, splintered off when they were sundered by the fierce battle between Zodiark and Hydaelyn. In particular, the Warrior of Light and Ardbird are pieces of Azim, the forgotten 14th member of the Convocation, and is one of the members who summoned Hydaelyn. When summoned, Azim was tempered by her, and just because they died long ago, doesn't mean that their ether is no longer attuned to Hydaelyn. This is further supported by the fact that MXL states that when the Ascians awaken the Echo within others to bolster their ranks, they specifically go for the ones that were in the Convocation, because their aether is already attuned to Zodiark. So if that's the case for the Ascians, then it's only logical that it is the case for the Warrior of Light. So this is why Ifrit and Garuda states that the Warrior of Light belongs to Hydaelyn, despite it being the Echo's work, because the Echo was further empowered by the Blessing of Light. In short, Xenos was right. The Echo doesn't make you immune to being tempered. However, tempering is not meant to be something that makes you completely subservient to a primal's will. It's always meant to be a blessing, a buff. What we see from the Beast Tribe's primals and even Ilbert's Shinryu is a bastardization of the method. It's just wild energy and emotions being taken form, which is why both Xenos and the Warrior of Light were able to dust off Shinryu's attempt to temper both of them, despite being so powerful in its own right. Their willpower and sense of justice through the Echo, or resonance in Xeno's case, completely eclipses that of a wild primal, which comes down to why Hydaelyn and the Warrior Light work so well together. It's a very simple answer. The Warrior Light is genuinely a good person, and Hydaelyn loves them for it. There's no malice between the two. They instead work together to save the realm. While the Warrior of Light is constantly on the battlefield, Hydaelyn watches over them like a loving mother would. As the Warrior of Light becomes more and more powerful, Hydaelyn interferes less and less, as her trust in them is very strong, if not unbreakable.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching the video. I put a lot of time and effort into this. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like. It lets me know that you enjoyed it and want to see more in the future. I'll see you guys in the next video.